Hello, my friends. Today, let's talk about diabetes. Diabetes, or commonly called by most people as sugar disease, is actually a disease of insulin. This disease manifests itself with very high sugar in your blood. And because of that, you find that people who have very high sugar in their blood, they are always generally very thirsty, and they pass too much urine. They're always going to the toilet. So if you see your child or yourself, you find yourself passing too much urine and feeling very thirsty, always going to the toilet to pass urine, that could be a sign that you might have diabetes. But that aside, let's go back to diabetes itself. Diabetes, like I said, is a disease of insulin. Either that you are not producing enough insulin from your pancreas, or yes, you're producing insulin quite all right, except that your body has no capacity to handle the insulin that you're producing. Now, that's what forms the two types of diabetes that we have. One where you are not producing enough insulin from your pancreas. And this is what we call type 1 diabetes, and we see it mainly in children and adolescents. And these children are generally very thin, with very high appetite, drink a lot of water, and pass too much urine. And also the other complications do follow after that. Now, type 2 diabetes is what we see mainly in adults. I'm saying mainly because we've also begun to see type 1 diabetes in adults due to various causes. We're not going to those. But let's focus mainly on type 2 diabetes because we see this in adults. And the reason we're going to focus on type 2 diabetes is that there is something you can do to actually prevent it. Type 2 diabetes is also referred to as acquired diabetes. Acquired in the sense that you are not born with it. Along the way, things happen to your body that make you susceptible or put you at risk of developing diabetes. Now, what are those things that can happen to an adult that can make you develop diabetes? One of them is, and this one is actually a major one, it's your weight. Now, how would you know that my weight is in that bracket where I may develop diabetes? One of the things you could do is that you could measure your BMI. BMI is basically a ratio of your weight in kgs divided by your height in meters squared. Now, the answer that you get, if your answer that you get is close to 25, just know that you're overweight. If it's above 25 but less than 29.9, you are pre-obese. If the answer that you get is 30 and above, you are obese. And people who are obese, your chances of developing diabetes are very much increased. Another way you could check your risk of developing diabetes, if you get a tape measure and you measure your circumference of your belly. If you're a woman and the circumference of your belly is around 88 and above, just know that you are also in that bracket. If you're a man, simply speaking, if your circumference is around 102 and above, just know you're in that bracket. So, I said diabetes is acquired in adults. Why do I say it's acquired? It's because the fat that we accumulate, particularly the fat we accumulate around the belly, causes what we call insulin resistance, or is associated with insulin resistance. And the fat that we accumulate around the belly is extremely dangerous. Now, how would you know that, yes, okay, doctor, I've checked, my BMI is high, I've checked, I may be at risk of diabetes. How do I know that I have diabetes? The challenge we have with acquired diabetes, unlike diabetes that we see in children, is that the symptoms in adult diabetes are not as overt as we see them in children. Actually, the symptoms come very late. By the time we see symptoms in adults, it's usually because they've developed a complication or two. Although we do see adults who come with drinking too much water and passing a lot of urine, except that you will find that most people, it's what brings them to a doctor is because they develop a complication. And some of the complications we see related to diabetes in men has to do with erectile dysfunction. or you are not seeing properly, your vision is not okay, or you're having sores that are not healing properly, or you have now developed either hypertension and they're now developing headaches and several other, complications begin to arise, like blindness, for example. So it doesn't need to get to that level. If you know that your BMI is high and you have fat around your waist, it's very important that you go and see your doctor and get your sugar checked. So what your doctor will do, they'll draw blood from you. They can do either of the two things, or they can do another third thing, which I'll not talk about. But one of the things they will do is that they'll ask you to do a fasting blood sugar. This is a sugar that you measure in the morning before you eat, or after some hours of not eating. Then they measure that sugar. If that sugar in the blood is 7 and above, then you are diabetic. If, for example, they take your sugar after you have eaten, and they measure the sugar and they find that it's above 11.1, then you are considered diabetes, especially if there are other symptoms related or associated with the issue. So, now, should you be found to be diabetic, and what you have is acquired diabetes, the beauty about it is that it can be managed. First of all, the first intervention that we recommend is where we don't give you drugs. We ask you to adjust your diet and lose weight. In most people, it tends to go away because you will have removed the fat that is causing the insulin resistance. If that fails, we will put you on drugs. Usually it's tablets. But remember that everyone who is diabetic, even if we start you on tablets, you will end up on insulin injections at some point. Now, what's my point here? The point I'm trying to make here is that, you see, in Zambia right now, we're experiencing a dual burden of disease, where we have both infectious disease as a burden. We're talking about HIV, TB, and all the other related infectious diseases, but we're also talking about non-communicable diseases, because why? People are living longer on ARVs, and so we're beginning to see a lot of people surviving longer, and because of that, non-communicable diseases are taking center stage. And one of the non-communicable diseases that is taking center stage in Zambia is acquired diabetes. How can you prevent it? You have seen lately quite a number of people go for aerobics, aerobics mania. One of my very good friends runs a very popular company on aerobics and aerobics mania. Join him. Adjust your diet. You see, one of the things with regards to managing your weight is that it's mainly diet plus exercise. It's not enough to do exercise. You also have to mind your diet. And that's how you manage your weight. And once you manage to drop your weight to acceptable levels, go back to your doctor to have your sugar checked again. And you will find that your sugars will continue coming down like that. You can avoid developing complications as a result of diabetes simply by managing your weight. So next time you see people jogging, join them. And I've seen lately that His Excellency the President is leading the way when it comes to exercising and keeping fit. Do it for your own good, particularly if you are men above 40. If you are a man, you're above 40, 45, manage your weight very cautiously. Until next time.